I go to school at Duke. I played soccer, but I was a senior, so now I'm finished with soccer. So I guess one of my biggest failures is failing to stay healthy. I've had 7 knee surgeries. I had 2 in high school and 5 since I've been here at Duke. They've all happened in soccer and have been kind of a combination of contact and non-contact injuries. I guess once I kind of began to come back from like one of my injuries, I would tear something again or get injured again. So it always seemed like it was this never-ending cycle of kind of failing to stay healthy and failing to actually be able to play the sport that I love. So I guess that's affected my life today in various ways, positive and negative. And to kind of not just identify as a soccer player, but rather as like a bunch of other qualities that I have. In addition to that, I think I've learned to kind of reach out to my teammates and how important having like such a great support system is. So not really internalizing your feelings and kind of reaching out and being outward with how you feel and, you know, talking to people about it. Especially students at Duke, we kind of strive for this like effortless perfection just because it seems like everyone is kind of perfect in what they do, even though that's definitely not the case. But I think in the back of people's minds, it's always, do I think that I'm gonna fail at this? Like, is it worth taking the risk or whatnot? Whenever I'm like trying something new or doing something that I haven't done before. So I feel like I've definitely considered not taking a risk before in fear of failure, but I've probably ended up convincing myself or being convinced by others to take that risk. I think this is like a little bit deep, but everything happens for a reason. So even if something like didn't necessarily work out, I can't really think of something off the top of my head, but even if something didn't necessarily work out, like having the experience of doing it and like learning from that risk and whatnot has always like kind of positively affected me. If I don't complete a task, it's more like, I don't see myself as a failure. I'm just like, you should have completed that task. Like, why didn't you complete that task? But I don't categorize myself as like a failure as a person for not doing it. I think in just like some of the classes that I've taken at Duke, they might have been ones that were like a little bit more challenging to me or things that I didn't necessarily have as much knowledge in, but seemed really interesting. So I decided to take a risk and take the classes, kind of not really knowing what to expect throughout the classes and thinking that it could go pretty poorly. But after like immersing myself into it and like just thinking that whatever happens, happens, I ended up like getting better grades in those classes that I thought and coming away and learning a lot more. I think you're never really good at something. Like the first time you try it, it takes a lot of practice and experience. So I'd probably be like angry at the fact that I wasn't able to do something, but then go back and think back to the fact that it's the first time that I've done it and that it takes practice and that I'm just a beginner and it'll get better. I guess going back to like what I said earlier, I think one of the most important things is just knowing that everything happens for a reason. Like, there's definitely a reason why you're failing, or there's definitely a reason why something might not be going the way you wish it would have, and it may not be clear in the moment, but you never know like how something like that's going to come back around in the future and I guess be a positive thing that ended up happening to you. You learn from like all of your failures, even if you aren't conscious of the fact that you're learning from them, and it ends up benefiting you in the future.